Sound knowledge of what your vehicle can and can't do is what makes this work.
After 160 k's, Cronje and his co-driver Birkin had almost 2 minutes of breathing space ahead of the Ford team, with Grobler and Moore down 13 minutes.
In the specials, Berthold was a massive 16 minutes ahead, but Alberts and Hunter in the Rapsabat had shot up the order after a great first loop. Stay tuned.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going off the beaten track to overcoming all obstacles.
And obstacles is what Mark Cronje and Chris Birkin were looking out for on the second loop of the Eastern Cape 500 on their way to the finish line.
The track and rally racer from Rudderpoort was managing the Toyota extremely well and was enjoying a dust-free ride under rather pregnant skies that threatened to rain, but didn't.
After the Nissan crew had worked miracles and sorted out his electrical problems, had the bit between his teeth, raring to go.
And getting nicely sideways too. He has to put pressure on Cronje.
And he did. He and young Louis Weichel chasing the dust of the Toyota. It was great to see.
1,5k. Open hairpin to right.
Seat of the pan stuff.
With Tollefson and Evans having worked very hard and diligently to get onto the podium in their Nissan Navara.
And they'd also taken time off the Woolridge Scholthammer piloted Ford, who were battling with vibrations from the gearbox.
But take nothing away from the overseas pairing, it was a great drive.
And panning back over the treetops, our cameras find the Ford 28 seconds behind. But these two know how to read the terrain well. Both of them were, after all, motorbike champions in their time too. So they know where to push and where to relax.
I think Neil was trying to save the car to ensure that they got to the line in one piece.
And I agree.
Thanks, Roald. In car we go and check out the scary drop-offs. Like Neil said, they may not even find you if you get it wrong here.
Thanks for the ride, gents. One of the rides of the day came from the Mika and XL dealer team, Hugo and Jaap de Bruin, who were doing a great job in 5th place on the road.
And a great job by the cameraman here atop the mountain, and he noticed what we were seeing.
Yes, a limping Gary Berthold and Andre Vermeulen in the Atlas Copco Porter was being overhauled by Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst at a rate of knots.
The Porter had suspension troubles, coupled with Gary's illness. This looked like the end of the road for them.
Still, Visser had to face down the dust and find the right spot to get past the plodding Porter.
And that meant more dust for Grobler, who in typical Hannes style was giving it horns, trying to get back the 10 minutes he lost.
And Cox with Testier had done the same. The Motorride pairing were eyeing a podium themselves.
But it cost them. There were parts of silver and black Motorride car all over the Longmore Forest, that's for sure.
Then again, you know what they say?
No, what?
It doesn't have to be pretty, just get it to the line, almost in one piece.
Fair enough.
But the man who was doing that the best, this man, Mark Cronje. With a 9-minute gap and extending it ever more, Birkin was clearly enjoying his ride along.
But amazingly, guess who was back in second place?
I don't know, but I bet you're going to tell us.
Right again. Woolridge and Scholthammer in the Ford.
Grobler and then Tollefson had to slow down for various technical reasons, and the Ford blasted by.
But it wouldn't be without a fight. Tollefson in the Nissan was keeping Woolridge honest. Very honest.
With another big sting in the tail, Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst were up into 4th place on the road, despite the fact that Jaapie was very car sick and could hardly call properly.
Up from 5th and going absolutely superbly.
listen to this carefully. That there is the sound of Grobler and Moore in the Nissan, just 18 seconds behind and pushing for all they were worth.
And Grobler is vicious when he's in this kind of a mood.
And ditto for Alfie Cox, who was 6th on the road, up 2 places in the Motorride SP.
But that little test of reverse gear did not help much or save any time.
Terence Marsh and Peter Groenewald in the Regent Racing Batspec 2 had gone from 7th up to 2nd and were in a mean mood.
The 2005 chap had cracked a big comeback win in the Western Cape at the beginning of March, and here they were again, looking for a 2-for-2 score.
But Mark Corbett wasn't going to let it come easy either. He and Rudy Balzar had clawed their way from 8th overnight to get into 3rd place in the specials.
But the question was, had he pushed his new car too hard, too early?
While the Silvolts were in a superb position to take the special vehicle victory, they had time to spare over Marsh and Groenewald.
In fact, 2 minutes and 47 seconds.
Gibson and Campbell were firmly ensconced in 3rd place, but had to stay ahead of the Harpers. They had almost 15 minutes to play with.
Vos and Weichelt, meanwhile, had dropped back and were ensuring a finish. They were 7th on the road, but under severe pressure to keep it right there.
The Harpers, Nick and Ryan, were thorough in their preparations and also in their race. They had given away 1 place and dropped down to 4th, but were determined to make up for a did not finish in the Western Cape.
And Fords, Ferguson and West were equally determined to come through for their team. They were just 2.5 minutes behind Voss and pushing as hard as the terrain and the Ford Ranger would allow them.
The Zermattens, Henry and Maurice, were still only those scant 25 seconds ahead of Cliff Weichelt, but they'd suffered a flat and broken a front right side shaft, so they were gingerly making their way to the line at Kings Beach.
But few teams can nurse a car to the paddock like the 2 Alberton men can.
And this is the team they were trying to hold off, Weichelt and navigator Jimmy Goch. They were slinging it around with abandon, hoping to see the red Nissan in front of them soon.
Herman Silwald and Paul Helberg were 5th in Class A, making it a fine day for the Silwald family. They had obviously prepared tirelessly and worked exceptionally hard, and they were reaping the rewards.
And in Class P, it was the 2 Dons, Thompson and Blakely, who outlasted the rest. In fact, the only finisher in the category.
Bariawa and Rousseau trundled into view next. They'd started off in 38th place, eaten dust all day, and here they were, up into 6th place in the specials. A phenomenal drive from a very talented man. The Total Motorsport crew were delighted.
Kobus van Tonda and Rian Guelpa blazed by next, 8th in the SP class. Fine performance from these 2.
Whitehouse and Carlson in the 2nd Regent Racing Bat Spec 4 were in 7th in class and had made some of the bigger name teams sit up and take note.
And now with the first signs of soft rain, the IDM Cement Toyota of Jaco Swanepoel and Keith Solomon came by with wipers ablaze, confirming that the heavens were finally prepared to open.
In Class D, Christian de Plooy and Henk van Vuren settled for 3rd, almost an hour behind the winners, the Zermattens.
While Dierveld van Breda and Peter Duplessis from Potchefstroom led the Class E challenges home. They were also the only team to see the finish line in one piece.
But they did have a day-long battle with Daniel Swanepoel, who didn't quite make it to the finish, but made it a very good race. They outlasted the early leaders Peckham and Santoro in the Ford.
As well as Thomas Rundle, who you will remember parked his car in a rather unconventional place at the bottom of a valley early on Loop 1.
But here's a moment from Mark Grenier and Chris Birkin to savor.
At the line at Kings Beach, their first win in the ABSA Off-Road Series, a 10-minute and 48-second victory after a well-judged and well-controlled 500 Ks in and around Port Elizabeth. It was Toyota hugs all round.
Although second across the line after a race-long ding-dong battle, it was Ivar Tollefson and Quinn Evans in the Nissan Navara. They took third place in the production car battle.
Their dust-streaked faces and red irritated eyes, even though they were in an enclosed cockpit, told you how tough it was out there in the forests of the Eastern Cape.
We did what we wanted to do. We followed the markers, we kept the car on the road, but we're braking a little bit too early. That's why we are a little bit too slow.
And how did their Navara perform all day?
Fantastic. Beautiful car, very good car.
Neil Woolridge and Kenny Schulthammer brought the Ford home in second place, and the Ranger looked and sounded like it was ready for more of the same.
Oh, excellent day. I think hopefully we'll finish second. I think we finished third on the road, but I think we made enough time to finish second. We should have. A bit of frustrating because for the last 200 kilometers we've had a serious transfer box problem in the car, so we had to back right off completely. Otherwise I think it could have been very close for the win, but we're happy. We'll take the points, which is good. It's what we want for the rest of the year. So bank all the points. And otherwise the car went faultlessly. It was fantastic. Got very slippery up there in the mountains, and with our tyre rule the way we've got it, we really battled on the rubber today because we had to put some second-hand tyres on at the halfway point because the new ones that we started with this morning were completely, all the lugs were off completely, and then it started raining up in the mountains, so it got quite interesting. But overall, yeah, a good day. We're happy. We'll take the points, and it's been a good event. It's been nice to come down here to PE. Well organised. The marking was excellent. A lot of forestry work and a lot of danger things. So I'm sure some people, including myself, had some big eyes today. I must say, it's some drop-offs like you only see in Lesotho, and with it being slippery like it was treacherous. But overall, yeah, good to be back.
The Zermattens got it to the line, taking the Class D win.
Oh, that was the most incredible race we've had in a long time. We lost first the four-wheel drive, one of the drive shafts snapped, so we put it in two-wheel drive, figured we'll carry on with that. And then it was about, I don't know, 10 k's later, power steering belt jumped off. Chook! I think it snapped. We don't know. We didn't even bother stopping. I thought, you know what, I've raced Bucky's with no power steering before, it's not going to hassle me. So now I'm back to stuck 20 years ago, Bucky with rear-wheel drive, no power steering. I thought, we'll handle it, it's not an issue, but there's just one series of corners strung together out there, and then Cliff started closing in on us, so he put the pressure on, gave it a bit more horns, and then the rear leaf spring snapped. So we ran with no suspension, no four-wheel drive, and no power steering, and I think he was just a minute and a half behind us at the end, so it was sweating blood all the way to the end.
Come rain or shine though, Cronje and Birkin were going to celebrate as they were fully entitled to.
A massive win for the Japanese brand, and you can tell that Mark needs more practice with the bubbly.
Still, a fine victory and a full 25 championship points for the Toyota pairing.
Crawford and Moore recovered well after their 10-minute wait at the start.
While Foss could only finish 7th.
The bubbly tasted especially good.
It's come a long way. I mean, we started this morning not knowing, what the pace is going to be like. We got stuck behind Gary for a little while, and we just kept pushing, getting close to him. I mean, you can see what the front of my car looks like. It just roasted us with these big rocks. And eventually we got past him, and then we got into a rhythm and managed to pull a nice lead. And coming in, we weren't too sure if we had a big enough gap. We went out to the second loop. The flu was taking its toll on me, and I just decided to take it fairly easier. I had to look through the switchbacks. I couldn't see anybody, so I knew that I'd had a fair-sized lead and just brought it home. But the guys have done a great job. I mean, the car has just been so awesome this weekend. I'm just happy for them. They've worked really hard in the last couple of years.
Collie and Quinton Zülwald also grafted hard for their win, but it was tight.
Only 2 minutes and 47 seconds worth of flight, actually.
Terence Marsh and Peter Groenewald in the Regent Racing Badge were that far behind, and it was a close-run affair. The course, dust, and the tight corners were taxing for the former national champion.
It was quite difficult. You couldn't. We just couldn't pass him. We caught him. We sat behind him the whole of the second loop. He managed to pull a little bit on us. We had an accelerator cable that was sticking, but it's just extremely dangerous. I mean, I really didn't enjoy it. We'll take whatever result we can get out of this. It wasn't ideal. It was tough. It rained during the second loop. You can't get past anybody. So we take wherever we'll take the result. It was tough. It was hard.
Young Quinton got the old man a good one, and he never even blinked. A fine win for a team that hung tough for very long.
Gibson and Campbell filled the last place on the podium, while the Harpers finally open their championship account.
Variawa and Rousseau will still be ring their prologue run, which gave them no hope of victory, but will take heart out of a fine race after that. For Cully, they surprised themselves.
Well, better than expected. We really didn't expect this. When we started this morning, I told Quinton, let's rather finish this race because it's not really suited for our car. It's more a four-wheel drive vehicle's track. So it came as a nice surprise for us. I can remember the last time that we were here, it was in the mid-90s, early 90s, we also won a race. So it's nice, a nice, how can I put it? It's nice to win here again.
The points after the first two races of 8, and it's Cronje and Birken who lead Voss and Woolridge by 2 slender points. And count Grobler out at your own peril.
In the special vehicle category, it's Marsh and Cully Silvot who've distanced themselves from the rest, but his brother Herman only needs 1 win to haul him right back into the thick of things. The next time we talk to you, we'll be setting the scene for the Nissan Sugarbelt 400 in KwaZulu-Natal.
Until next time, you keep it on the road.
We'll keep it off-road.